Hello, folks. How's it going out there? Welcome to the big show. On today's show, I got a lot for you. I'm going to go into the 27 nations, including the UK, that have condemned Israel in the harshest terms, putting out a statement. We're going to get into that. Israel has attacked the latest Freedom Flotilla to Gaza. We're going to also move on and talk about apparently there are loads of photos of Trump taken by Epstein. More on that coming up. The U.S. political parties are dead. I'm going to bring you some evidence that the U.S. political parties are just done. They don't mean anything. They're over. Trump is also trying to shut down some of the good aspects of AI. Also, he's trying to cage all the homeless people in America. So that'll be exciting to talk about as well. This guy, he's just getting stuff done. You notice that? Just always getting stuff done. Love it. Love it. Love grabbing homeless people off the streets. Not that we haven't been doing that for years, but I'll get into that in a minute. I'm going to throw the comments up on the stage, as they call it, up on the screen today. But before we get to the 27 nations, including the UK, let's start off with, this was awesome. This is I could watch clips like this, honestly, for just, if someone just wants to put together a marathon of clips like this. Maybe there aren't enough. Maybe there's only 5. But this is Irish punk rocker / other things / activist Bob Geldof. He was on Sky News, which, if you're American and you don't know what Sky News is, it's the Rupert Murdoch news in other countries. Anyway, he was talking about the genocide in Gaza, talking about what exactly Israel is doing in Gaza, the utter horror show. And of course, Sky News, the Sky News goon, has to push back gently on this idea. And anyway, he just shuts it down so beautifully. Let's see it.
But I think that the issue here is we can see demonstrations weekly by Israelis against their own government.
Enough, mate.
And the point I'm really just making is, isn't it a bit unfair to say this is the Israelis as a whole?
Stop it. Stop it, Trevor. What's unfair is what's happening to these babies. What's unfair is that image that you showed us. That's unfair. 1 hour from, I've been in Gaza, I've been in the West Bank, I've been in Israel many times. What's unfair is that 1 hour from the hunger, people are sitting down to their unthreatened dinners to turn on the next Netflix soap. 1 hour. So if Israelis want to protest, get in your cars. This is very Bob stuff, I know. Sorry about that. Okay. Get in your cars, stuff your cars full of food and drive through that border and let your own army stop you. Stop it. You guys stop it. Shame on you.
But I think...
Well said. Very well said. And, this garbage two-sidism that our mainstream media is involved in, where, let's not, let's realize there's a lot of Israelis have been doing some really good work. No, the number of people protesting in Israel, first of all, many of them are protesting just against Netanyahu, because they don't think he's done enough to get the hostages, not because they're opposed to genocide, not because they're opposed to ethnic cleansing, not because they're opposed to a brutal apartheid theocracy. No, none of that. They just don't think Netanyahu's done enough to get the hostages. So that's a lot of the protests we see. But besides that, yes, there are some Israelis protesting actually against the genocide, but that is a tiny, tiny percentage of Israelis. The truth is, the polling shows 82% of Israelis support the completion of ethnic cleansing. 82%. Not all of them want to murder everybody in Gaza. Many of them just want to move them out. But still, 82% support the completion of ethnic cleansing. So the idea that you would go, let's be a lot of Israelis doing a lot of good work. No, they're not. No, it is a tiny, tiny number of Israelis that are actually protesting the genocide. And Bob Geldof's absolutely right that, drive towards the border. And can you imagine the international uproar that would also create? Is Israel's own military was stopping Israelis? I mean, in a big way, not just in a holding up your hand and saying, no, you can't go here way. That'd be a big international news story. Anyway, I love seeing these fucking goons get shut down. These mainstream media morons get shut down. It's just great to see. We need more of it. And I'm thinking of doing a segment on an upcoming show, just going through all of the celebrities that have actually spoken out for Palestine. Trying to get through as many as we can. Now, a lot of them have not at all. But anyway, that's a side note. Okay, let's move on to, please click thumbs up, throw in a comment. It helps to support the show. But let's move on to Israel has attacked the next Freedom Flotilla headed towards Gaza. As you've seen with the past ones, the one that Greta Thunberg was on and so many others, these are innocent people on a ship filled with nothing but aid, nothing but food, nothing but prosthetic limbs for babies was on the last boat. And Israel, of course, can't allow these type of ships to get into Gaza because it would show that the world has the ability to actually just sail up to Gaza and bring aid. So they have to stop them. So how do they stop them? Sometimes they murder them. Back in, was it 2012? They paratrooped onto the boat and murdered many of them. But now they've taken to just arresting and kidnapping the people in international waters, which is another international crime. Yes, thank you for reminding me. Someone in the chat saying Chris Smalls is on the ship or was on the ship. I guess they've been kidnapped now. Chris Smalls is well known for the Amazon Union effort. But anyway, here's from Democracy Now! For the second time in less than 2 months, Israeli forces have raided a civilian aid ship bound for Gaza in international waters. The Freedom Flotilla Coalition was attempting to break the Israeli siege by sailing the Handala ship to Gaza with baby formula, diapers, food, and medicine on board on Saturday night. Israeli forces seized the aid and detained the ship's crew of 21 civilians, including parliamentarians and human rights lawyers. Just before the raid, one of the flotilla organizers, Hawaida Araf, spoke by phone with Israeli forces and said this vessel carries food and baby formula for children that your government is deliberately starving. Your blockade is deliberately starving children to death. You have no authority to enforce an illegal blockade. This is a war crime. And they've been kidnapped, and who knows what they'll do with these people now. The last time they held them for several days, some of them just had to sign something saying they had illegally entered Israel, and then they were shipped back to their country. Others refused to sign that, and I haven't actually looked up where the people who refused to sign it, whether they're still locked up in Israeli prisons or not. Maybe someone knows the answer to that. But anyway, more kidnapping done by Israel of people trying to bring aid. So here's the good news. And yes, too little, too late, all of that, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to report on it. The UK, which we know has been a staunch ally of Israel, so much so that I brought you the breaking news, the kind of hidden by the mainstream media news that the UK had flown 500 surveillance flights over Gaza to benefit Israel, to help them with their genocide. So that's the level of in bed with Israel that the UK is. Even so, the UK and 27 other nations condemned Israel over inhumane killing of Gaza civilians seeking aid. The UK and 27 other countries have called for an immediate end to the war in Gaza, where they say the suffering of civilians has reached new depths. A joint statement says Israel's aid delivery model is dangerous and condemns what it calls the drip feeding of aid and the inhumane killing of civilians seeking food and water. And I'm going to get more into this in a moment, but the drip feeding of aid is designed to not actually give aid. It's designed to get the world to shut up about Israel not giving aid to Gaza while also continuing to starve and murder everyone in Gaza. So it's designed to, they want to have it both ways. They want the world to stop saying you aren't giving them aid, and they want to not give them aid. So they've been giving these tiny little bits of aid, also killing people at these aid sites. So I'll get more into that in a second. But more than 100 Palestinians were killed by Israeli fire while waiting for food over the weekend, and 19 others died from starvation. There have been many international statements condemning Israel's tactics in Gaza during the 21 months. But, and here's BBC propaganda. I always, sometimes I'll go to BBC for information like this, but I still like to point out their propaganda. 21 months of Israel's war with Hamas. Oh, is that what this is? Is this a war with Hamas? As Israel intentionally starves children to death? Is that a war with Hamas? Fuck you, BBC. But this declaration is notable for its candor. The signatories are the foreign ministers of the UK and 27 other nations, including Australia, Canada, France, Italy, Japan, New Zealand, and Switzerland. And many of these are the US allies, right? Thank you so much for donating to the show, supporting the show. Really appreciate it. Angry Bird says, I'm so happy you're still doing good work for Palestine while we in Scotland have to have your intellectual challenged moron polluting our air. Yeah, Donald Trump just showed up at the golf course in Scotland on a $10 million taxpayer-funded golf retreat. That's how much it costs for Trump to go play golf. $10 million of your tax dollars. Anyway, getting sidetracked. But thank you for supporting the show. Really appreciate it. The statement then says the war in Gaza must end now. It then warns the suffering of civilians in Gaza has reached new depths. The Israeli government's aid delivery model is dangerous, fuels instability, and deprives Gazans of human dignity. We condemn the drip feeding of aid and the inhumane killing of civilians, including children seeking to meet their most basic needs of water and food. It is horrifying that over 800 Palestinians have been killed while seeking aid. That's 800. Well, I covered the other day how 400,000 Gazans have been murdered by Israel, but that's 800 have been killed at these aid sites, 800 to 900. Anyway, this is a striking statement because it actually includes the UK and Canada and some of these other countries that have not been that forthright with standing up against Israel. Here is, though, speaking of those aid sites, a whistleblower. Click thumbs up, leave a comment. It all helps. Thanks a lot, guys, for supporting the show. Still one of the most censored comedians/journalists in America. But anyway, a whistleblower for one of these mercenaries that works at these so-called aid sites where they've been murdering Gazans has come forward to reveal what's going on there. Not that you didn't know it, but we haven't heard it from the mercenaries that actually have worked there. I brought to you much of the information about this organization that's really connected to the U.S. and connected to U.S. mercenaries, GHF, Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which is really Gaza Humanitarian. Go fuck yourself, because honestly, that's what they're achieving. But a whistleblower has come forward to expose the aid massacres. This is from the Dissident. GHF, which had set up 4 fake aid distribution sites in Gaza guarded by U.S. mercenary security firm Safe Reach Solutions. Oh, God, these Orwellian names. Safe Reach Solutions, as we murder children. And UG Solutions. Anytime you have solutions in your name, just if someone's coming at you and they got a solutions business card, run for your lives. I'm with UG Go. So Safe Reach Solutions, UG Solutions, has been used as a death trap for Palestinians starved by the Israeli blockade. Middle East Eye reported that more than 1,000 Palestinians, so that's higher than the 800 I said a moment ago, have been killed by Israeli forces while trying to access food in Gaza since the U.S. and Israel-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation began operations, the UN said Tuesday. An American military contractor who was guarding an aid site has come forward on Israel's Channel 12 and blown the whistle on Israel's use of Gaza Humanitarian Foundation for massacres. He said, I am a career veteran in the U.S. Army who's been deployed to combat 12 times in different wars. So before I get to what else he said, I just want to think about that. This is a guy who's been willing to be a part of our massacres, U.S. massacres around the world 12 different times. And yet this is the one where he's like, this is fucking wrong. This is wrong. Like, the other ones are horrific as well. But this is a new chapter of just like, yeah, go ahead, kill civilians. We don't care. Because, and I think a lot of the difference is that most of the murdering of innocent civilians that the U.S. does is pushing a button and you barely see, oh, wait, what was that? A grainy black and white video of a wedding party? Boop. Like, you don't actually have to see the horror show. And I think that's a lot of why this feels different to him. But anyway, he said, I'm a career veteran, been deployed 12 times. I have never in my entire military career been a part of, allowed, or bystander to the use of force against unarmed innocent civilians, and I'm not going to do it now. Of course, the U.S. murders innocent civilians all the time, but we don't do it quite like this. It's not as in your face. It's done strategically. It's done by blowing up water systems that then murder, 100,000 people. But anyway, referring to the GHF, he said, there is no fixing this. This needs to be put to an end now. And then he goes on to describe just, the horror of like a woman trying to get food and she's being shot at, or she's being pepper sprayed in the face while she's on her hands and knees trying to pick up noodles. I mean, and I tweeted this out today, and that Israel's done. It's done. You cannot be this monstrous, this remarkably fucking disgusting. And just what? They think in a year, going to go back to whatever the normal was? Yeah, in a year, everybody's going to go back to supporting Israel again after they just watched a genocide live stream on their phones. No, it's just done. How long it takes to actually see that ending is another question, but just remarkably repulsive. And these, I already mentioned this, but just to reiterate, these aid distribution places are designed to make it look like Israel's giving aid while not actually giving enough aid. People are starving to death every day in Gaza, and that is by design. It is not an accident. It's not that they don't know. The only reason there are even these tiny little aid sites is because Israel wants you and other people around the world to think they're trying to bring aid. It's bullshit. So this is a bit of a segue to talk a little bit about AI, but it still is about the Israel-Palestine conflict, genocide. And so it's a good segue in that respect. By the way, you can see that the comments, they now allow me to put your comments up on the screen there. So everybody's comments will be up there. Of course, if someone shows up in their true dippity shit, then we'll ban them and we'll take the comments down for the moment. So don't ruin it for everybody, okay? Whoever it is that's thinking about doing that. And everybody who's supporting the show, I see your comments and thank you so much. And I'm glad to get back into it. Sorry to have been away for a little while, but I hope you'll keep supporting the show. There's a new Unredacted tonight coming out this Thursday. So we're back on our Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern. We're back on our regular schedule. But anyway, so I had spoken before about how AI, if allowed to actually grow naturally. Now, there's a million horrifying things about AI, which we can discuss those another time. But I think we should talk about the pluses and the minuses. I don't think AI is stoppable. I don't like a technology like that. The humans have never proven that we can actually put the brakes on creating a technology that it quote unquote advances everything. So I don't think you're going to stop it. Now, are we going to be able to put enough guardrails on it that it doesn't decide that humans suck and it needs to get rid of us all? We'll find out in the next few years, right? Exciting times. Exciting times. But I also think that the positives of AI that exist, we should not ignore those. And this is what I had kind of said. Maybe I didn't put it as clearly as the study did, but there's a study out of Cornell University that says using collective dialogues and AI to find common ground between Israeli and Palestinian peace builders. A growing body of work has shown that AI-assisted methods, leveraging large language models, that's ChatGPT, et cetera, social choice methods, and collective dialogues can help navigate polarization and surface common ground in controlled lab settings. We present a case study applying these techniques to find common ground between Israeli and Palestinian peace builders in the period following October 7th, 2023, from April to July 2024, in iterative, deliberative process combining LLMs, bridge-based ranking, and collective dialogues was conducted in partnership with the Alliance for Middle East Peace. Around 138 civil society peace builders participated, including Israeli Jews, Palestinian citizens of Israel, and Palestinians from the West Bank and Gaza. The process resulted in a set of collective statements, including demands to world leaders, with at least 84% agreement from participants on each side, which is pretty striking. I mean, if you were to thank you, Apartment 2D, for supporting the show, really appreciate it. Solidarity. If you were to just take your average Palestinian and your average Israeli Jew and say, you know, how much do you guys agree on it? You're not going to get 84%. So this shows the ability of AI to help get past the normal hurdles of rhetoric and propaganda and actually get to something meaningful. It's not 100%, but the idea that you could even get 84% agreement is pretty mind-blowing, considering where we're at right now. And you know, I had said this, that like in so many words, that AI has the ability to think outside of many of the restraints that we have with our dumb propaganda brains. Of course, you can also create AI that it's like, hey, take in a lot of the dumb propaganda garbage, like Elon Musk did with Grok on X. And I'm glad he named it Grok, because most of what Musk does is vomitous, and it sounds like you're vomiting. So, but I didn't cover this story a few weeks ago, where Musk didn't like that Grok on X was telling people that a white genocide in South Africa did not exist, because it doesn't exist. It's a bullshit lie made up by Musk and Trump. And so that made Musk angry. What do you mean there's no white genocide in South Africa? And so he adjusted whatever he did. He tinkered with the inside of Grok, and quickly Grok developed to become just pure racist, like pure. He called himself, Mecha Hitler at one point. The AI did, the XAI. So it did not take much tinkering to send X's AI into straight Hitler mode. So that can happen as well. But anyway, I think this shows the ability that we could use AI for positives such as this to help get us past our dumb monkey brain situations. I'm not saying we will, but I want to give you an example and another example. And Trump is trying to stop this, and I'm going to tell you that story in a second as well. But so here's an example. If you go into ChatGPT and you type in, is there systemic racism in the United States? Is there institutional racism in the United States? Now, if you type that into Google, you'll get an article from New York Times saying there is, and an article from Fox News saying there's not. And you're like, if you're an average person without much media literacy, you're like, I don't know what to believe. This article says there is, the guy says there's not. Trump says there's not. But ChatGPT, or your average AI, will collect far more information than you could possibly take in and come to a conclusion. And here's the conclusion when I type it in, unless they work on changing this will be the solution for a while. Now I'm just showing you a screen of this is the final page, but it gave me a list of every different area or many different areas of US society and where we see structural racism, institutional racism, systemic racism. And it says historical roots and housing segregation, redlining, wealth gap. Black families hold just $5 for every $100 of white family wealth. In 2016, the median black household wealth was $17,000 versus $171,000 for white households. Then next segment is economic and employment disparities, labor market barriers. Black workers earn 22% less than white workers for the same job, interlocking systems. It then goes on to education and opportunity gaps, funding inequities, then goes on to health disparities and public health. Keep in mind, I did not say, tell me all the way there is systemic racism. I questioned or queried, is there systemic racism? So it easily could have come back and said, yeah, no, I found this article that said there's not. But of course, that's not the truth. This is the truth. Health disparities in public health is another one. Life expectancy, mortality, environmental health, criminal justice and policing, arrest and incarceration rates. African Americans are 13% of the U.S. population, but 37% of those incarcerated. Even for the same crime, they'll get far longer sentences than white offenders. Sentencing disparities, which I just mentioned. Next one is political and civic inequities. And then the ones I have on the screen there, census among scholars and institutions. And then it comes down to the conclusion: the preponderance of historical records, statistical data, and peer-reviewed research demonstrates that systemic racism is neither anecdotal nor residual. It is woven into the fabric of U.S. institutions and policies. Dismantling it demands coordinated efforts across housing, education, healthcare, criminal justice, economic policy, and civic participation, anchored in equity-focused reforms that acknowledge and remediate the deep roots of racial injustice. Now, that is not a woke answer. That is the truth. There is a difference between being woke in some false way, putting a black spokesperson to the U.S. empire. That's woke. This is just reality. It's just truth. So, and I had said that, like, this could be a big positive of AI, that you have this much information and you can bring it together. And Trump is now trying to stop exactly this, because you could imagine, and we saw it with Wikipedia, right? We saw it with Wikipedia that Wikipedia has become captured. It largely endorses It largely endorses the U.S. empire's view of the world. Sure, you can find the CIA operations and stuff from several years ago, but Wikipedia is not going to say that the CIA is involved in cooing countries around the world today. It'll give you a historical view. And for something that happens like in the moment, like when the U.S. announced that Juan Guaido was the president of Venezuela, even though Juan Guaido got 0 votes for the president of Venezuela, there was a big internal fight in Wikipedia where they said he was the president, then they said he wasn't, and then it went back and forth. Then they ultimately said he was the disputed president. So you can't get modern reality from Wikipedia. It's captured. And even if it weren't captured by U.S. empire, it's apparently 95% of all edits are done by like 500 to 1,000 white male Westerners. So that's where we're at. And AI is outside of that. I mean, to an extent. I'm not saying it doesn't look at Wikipedia for answers, but it combines that with much more data. And so Trump is trying to stop exactly this Because if you kept allowing this, where people could look up the answers, is there systemic racism in the United States, and get the actual answer, well, fuck. Now, not only does that destroy everything the Republican Party wants you to believe, but it also destroys the Democrats who want you to ignore it. Because you read it and you go, wow, this sounds really extreme. And the Democrats go, yeah, we're not doing anything about any of that. But here's what Trump's trying to do is he just passed a new executive order targeting quote unquote woke AI. Oh, great. This is one of these pages that deletes all my highlights after I highlight it. But anyway, President Trump signed an executive order Wednesday to steer federal contracts toward companies whose AI models are deemed free of ideological biases. But of course, what do they mean when they say ideological biases? They mean they don't want ChatGPT telling you about systemic racism, or telling you about U.S. empire, or telling you about Israel's genocide. And I will also add in here the caveat that it's not like ChatGPT gets everything right. Many people have pointed out there's times where it makes shit up. There's also, I think if you were to ask it to give you a rundown of the Israel-Gaza conflict, it's probably going to have plenty of sentences in there like, it started in, when Hamas attacked Israel. It didn't start before that. And Israel is doing their best. I don't know. I don't know what it would say, but I'm just saying it would have those equivocating sentences in there. So I'm not saying it's perfect, but they're trying to shut down exactly what I was just telling you about. The order issued as part of the administration's rollout of a wide-ranging AI action plan takes aim at what Trump calls woke AI. And the right wing who wants you to believe that woke AI is a real problem will point to some hilarious examples. I totally agree that hilarious examples where it was like it used to be you ask one of these image creators, maybe ChatGPT's Google's image creator, if you say give me photos of the founding fathers, and it would show images of the founding fathers of the United States, but like every third one is black and every second one is Native American or something. And the reason it was doing that was Google's, Google people that work inside Google had told it to include everyone in your images. Just don't make it all white people. So of course that went overboard. Now that needs to be fixed. That's fucking dumb. But that they're using that insanity as cover to now take away the ability of some of these AI models to give you the truth. So they want you to believe that all AI responses are, Native American founding fathers of the USA, which is not the case. They call it liberal bias. Apparently, truth has a liberal bias. Now, of course, I despise the liberal mindset for other reasons, which is liberals in America now believe most of the things I'm saying and believe that the Democrats are going to fix it, which they're fucking not. Anyway, from now on, Trump said, the U.S. government will deal only with AI that pursues truth, fairness, and strict impartiality. Bullshit. This is called lying to you. I know you're blown away that Trump would lie to you. And then the article goes on to say, this is a very difficult problem because trying to figure out what would be without bias, even if you wanted to say that current AI has bias, trying to define what is without bias would be nearly impossible. Let's see. But assessing a chatbot's political leanings is not straightforward. On certain topics, such as the need for U.S. military supremacy, OpenAI's tools tend to produce writings and images that align most closely with Republican views. So it also depends a lot on how you couch the question or the prompt. If you say, tell me why the U.S. needs military supremacy, it will come back with a ton of reasons why the U.S. needs to blow up other countries. So the key is to not prompt it in such a way where it thinks, oh, I will make user happy by giving them all the ways the US needs to murder other countries. Sorry, I missed this earlier, but thank you, Saint Mop, for the donation. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate you supporting the show. And I do not frown upon super chats. They always help the show. There may be some of you, I don't know, that are wondering why the hell I'm spending this long talking about AI. I am certain it will change everything in the next 5 to 10 years. Not all of that will be positive. Much of that will be just an unfathomable number of jobs disappearing. And, I'm one of the few to say that setting up a world, a society based on wage slavery, based on working at a job you hate so you can fucking have your weekends back, is insanity. So I'm not endorsing wage slavery. But if you just snap your fingers and get rid of a large percentage of all the jobs and then go deal with it, well, you just end up with Hunger Games. You need to actually craft a society that is not based on wage slavery, which we don't seem to be doing. We don't seem to think like adults on these matters. But I think people who underwrite AI and say, oh, it's overhyped and you can't figure out how many R's are in the word strawberry, which I don't know if they fixed that, but for a long time it couldn't figure out how many R's are in strawberry. They don't. Those people who act like this is nothing. It's not. Yeah. I don't think they understand it. I don't think they understand how crazy this technology is. And I mean, we're seeing entire fields wiped away overnight. Like graphic design. Graphic design was a major field. And yes, there are still graphic designers out there who are doing some of the best, most creative stuff. But a lot of the graphic design work across our nation, around the world, was for stuff that was not considered that creative, right? It was just a magazine needed give me an image of a guy on a couch. And now pretty much all of that can be done with AI. So that's just one example. I'm not saying all those magazines should fire graphics designers and use AI. I'm just saying what corporations tend to go towards the path of least resistance. And you're going to see transportation jobs disappear in 5 to 10 years. The transportation is, and those things connected to transportation are like a sixth of the U.S. job market. You're going to see very highly skilled. And actually, I'm going to stop talking about this because I'm going to bring you a longer segment or a more detailed segment on this soon. The godfather of AI, the guy who came up with many of the models that they're now using, he was asked, what do you recommend people do, to be like job secure? And he said, become a plumber. He said, yeah, there's a lot of these jobs are going to be disappearing and you should be a plumber. Which, if this was the guy who predicted everything we're seeing with AI and he's saying be a plumber, then that's kind of terrifying. All right, let's get to how the U.S. political parties are dead. And I'm going to bring the receipts, motherfucker. Please hit thumbs up, hit share, and let me just pause for a moment and say, if you want to see my stuff continue, in this suppression, which is incredibly frustrating. I mean, I don't know how many of you have a platform where you create things, whether it be writing or images or video or whatever. These videos that I make and I put out to you guys, they never grow. They will, if they grow, I will then be crushed the following week. That's the kind of suppression I'm under. So if I have a video do well the following week, I'm guaranteed to have all my other videos do poorly. And so I can't actually gain any traction. It's been like this for several years. And so you guys are the ones that make it possible for me to keep doing this, because it is, unfortunately, it's truly Sisyphean, and, but I'm not going to give up. But I'm just saying, if you're able to become a member at leecamp.net, my locals page, or patreon.com/leecamp, that would be amazing. And you get tons of free stuff, tons of perks when you sign up. Both my ebooks, all three of the my Zoom comedy specials. All that's when you sign up at either leecamp.net, my locals page, or patreon.com/leecamp. So hope you will consider doing that. Even if you can only do it for a month, it makes a difference. Okay. So Ken Clemens, they put out an article called Party Control is Dead, meaning they're losing control. The leaders of the Democrats and Republicans are losing control of the foot soldiers, of the people who are not the leaders. I think that definitely needs to be extended to the parties are dead. The parties don't have any soul. They haven't for a while now, but it's becoming more and more evident. Saying you are a Democrat or you're a Republican really means nothing. There are Trump supporters. I mean, really, we've taken it to calling them Trump supporters, because if you say someone's Republican, it's like, I don't know what that means. What do you stand for? Are you opposed to war? Because a lot of Republicans are now opposed to war. Are you, opposed to immigration? A lot of Republicans hate immigration, but, Biden deported more people than Trump did in his first 4 years. So if you say you're a Democrat, do you hate immigrants? If you say you're a Democrat, are you opposed to war? Because the Democrats used to be the peace party to some degree. I'm not saying they did it, but they used to pretend. Now they're the pro-war party. If you say you're a Democrat, are you willing to see the truth that Russiagate was a laughable fraud, and that even we now have the internal documents where even the FBI said they had low confidence on that Russia ever hacked and leaked anything? Are you willing to see the truth? Because that, if you say you're a Democrat, I'm going to assume that you are just not willing to pay attention to the truth on that issue. So I don't know what any of it means. And then you have the photo on this article is Mamdani in New York City, who won the primary and is now, as of now, winning the general election for mayor. Cuomo, of course, has decided to run as an independent. So he's up against the wildly corrupt Andrew Cuomo again. And he's also up against the wildly corrupt Eric Adams, the current mayor, who was prosecuted by the Justice Department only to have those prosecutions dropped because Trump wanted a quid pro quo from Eric Adams, who now sounds like a Trump voter. If you watch an interview with Eric Adams, who was a Democrat, now claims he's independent. If you watch an interview with them now, you probably won't be able to differentiate how he's different from Trump policies. So what do these parties mean? It's not party control is dead, Klippenstein. It's the parties are dead. So the article says Mamdani's victory in New York City and the MAGA revolt against Donald Trump over the Epstein files have one thing in common. People do not want to be managed by the two major political parties, nor the wonk brigade of supposed experts defending them. On Saturday, he also throws in a third example, 35-year-old Minnesota State Senator Omar Fatah won the Minnesota governing party's endorsement for mayor of Minneapolis. Without any major organizational backing, Fatah defeated the two-term incumbent, who had the backing of Senator Amy Klobuchar, former Minneapolis Mayor Sharon Belton, and a long list of these garbage party officials. Mamdani, meanwhile, is poised to become mayor of America's largest city, winning the primary without the support of his party's leadership. Of course, they're pumping crazy amounts of money into stopping Mamdani from winning that mayor election, and we'll see how rigged it is. It may be very, very rigged when the election actually comes around. But anyway, Trump is left having to argue that Jeffrey Epstein scandal is a nothing burger in response to an uprising of unruly MAGA voters. I'm going to bring you more on Trump and Epstein in just a minute. Party discipline is on its deathbed. No, I disagree. The parties are on their deathbed. They don't fucking mean anything anymore. More people in America say they're independent than either Democrat or Republican. You have the richest person in the world he just crossed $400 billion of worth. That's not all in dollars. Much of it's in Tesla stock, but still $400 billion. They're predicting that Elon Musk could be a trillionaire by 2027. And remember, if you'd like to make $1 trillion, if you make $40,000 a year after taxes, it would only take you 25 million years. 25 million years to make $1 trillion. Anyway, he started a new party because these parties have no meaning. They don't mean anything. Both Fatah and Mamdani ran campaigns focused on affordability and economic relief for the working class, including rent control to address the insane cost of housing, by now a national humiliation, having put not only home ownership, but even just renting out of reach for many. They both had gained further credibility by showing they were willing to go to war with their own party. And of course, Mamdani and I assume Fatah, big factor, Mamdani supports Palestine. Now, I know there's plenty of criticisms of Mamdani to say, oh, he's not a revolutionary. Yeah, I don't think he's a revolutionary. I think that someone who says free Palestine and actually seems to have platform planks that would help people on the ground today, like affordable grocery stores and free transportation. I think that's better than nothing. But yeah, I don't think he's a revolutionary. I think if you were expecting a revolutionary in the New York City mayor's race, then you kind of are naive. But anyway, Clemency then says the revolution will not be authorized by the party. Yeah, of course not. Democratic Party leaders still refuse to endorse Mamdani, who is poised to win the city with the same Uber and Lyft drivers and other unprecedented voices who have the temerity to vote. When asked if he would endorse Mamdani, House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries said, I don't know him well. When has that ever been a prerequisite for endorsing the Democratic nominee? Normally, they just endorse whoever the latest Democratic goon is that agrees with all the same shit, endorses Israel, everything. And here is Hakeem Jeffries saying, oh, I don't know him well. President Trump made the same move when he declared that demands for the release of the so-called Epstein files was the work of the dastardly Democrats. That's Trump's latest thing. By the way, Trump was the one who initially injected the Epstein into the elections back against Hillary Clinton. And now he wants out. Now he does not want people talking about Epstein. He said these files were made up by Comey. They were made up by Obama. They were made up by Biden. Oh, really? Were they, considering the fact that they also have a lot to do with Bill Clinton and Bill Gates? They have a lot to do with some of the biggest Democrats and Democrat funders. But they also have a lot to do with you, my friend, Donald Trump. Not only was he good friends with Epstein for all those years, but Virginia Giuffre, who was likely murdered recently, she was actually recruited for Epstein at Mar-a-Lago. She was working at Mar-a-Lago, and Epstein snatched her up and made her part of his sex trafficking. And she was the one who accused Prince Andrew, and she's the one who was suicided a few months ago. Let's see. Similar numbers of Republican voters, 43% feel dissatisfied with Trump's handling of the Epstein disclosures, as Democrats, 60%. What's more, only 4% of Republicans said they were satisfied with Trump's handling. 3% of Democrats. But here's another, in addition to that, this was kind of, apparently there are a bunch of photos of Trump, I assume with young women, that we have not seen, that were taken by or either by or for Epstein. Yeah, you all know by now that his Epstein's properties were rigged with cameras everywhere, and he was likely doing this for Mossad and for Israel, and could create a giant blackmail organization. And uh, there were apparently many there are apparently many photos of Donald Trump. I'm not saying that it necessarily means he was nude in them or something like that, but with young girls, underage girls, and with other women that were being trafficked by Epstein. And this is according to Trump's former biographer, Michael Wolff. This was in The Guardian. Michael Wolff, you probably remember, Trump gave him access. He did a book on Trump, and it was not flattering for Trump. So Trump ended up becoming furious about it and now hates the guy. Some people say he's a legitimate journalist. Others say he does not, do a great job, make shit up. But anyway, you can decide whether to believe Michael Wolff, but he's believed by a lot of people, and including The Guardian, I guess, in order to put this in their article. But according to Michael Wolff, Epstein, he was interviewing Epstein. He was speaking to Epstein. I'm going to venture that this was before Epstein's death. I'm going to guess he was talking to Epstein before Epstein was suicided. Epstein opened his safe in his New York townhouse, the famed New York townhouse, for Michael Wolff, and he retrieved a pile of about a dozen photographs of Trump at Epstein's Palm Beach mansion. They were kind of spread out like playing cards, Wolff said, and it was Trump with girls of uncertain age. In two of them, topless girls are sitting on Trump's lap. In another, he has a visible stain on his pants, while several girls are laughing and pointing at it. Wolff said, I think it's certainly not unlikely that they were in a safe when the FBI came in after Epstein's arrest and took everything. Meaning, the FBI has these photos right now. Right now. And we're seeing more and more evidence come forward as to just how much Trump was involved in this. And he wants you to move on. He says nothing to see here. He says this was created by the Democrats. But yeah, apparently there's all these photos that are in the FBI's hands right now. I assume being burned by, Kash Patel and Tulsi Gabbard right now are having a bonfire where they burn all the Trump photos. But pretty incredible revelations. And one of the things I had said, this is way before Trump, way before the latest Epstein fervor. I was saying this a couple of years ago, that the FBI rolls in, raids Epstein's house in New York and his other properties, everyone knows they filled up trucks with evidence, computers, photos of girls, paintings, everything, fill up trucks worth. And then what happens to that? They just drive it into the Hudson, just, all right, we're out. Just straight into the river. Like, where the fuck did that shit go? You can't just fill up trucks with evidence of the biggest sex trafficking, child pedophilia, combined with the world's richest, most powerful people. And just, we just drove it. We just drove right off the edge of New York. What? Where the fuck is it? I think Kash Patel and Tulsi Gabbard are wiping their asses with it right now. Okay. I should have brought you this a moment ago. But anyway, this is the latest poll on Cuomo and Mom Donnie in the race for the New York mayor. And they're trying to make it seem like Cuomo is closer or winning by doing a little statistical trick, which is if you remove everyone else from the race, then they say that Cuomo is winning by 1 percentage point. But guess what? There are other people in the race. So you can't, like, that is a meaningless number. Cuomo's winning if we delete everyone else from the race. No. In the actual polling, where you actually have all of the people running for mayor, This came out Tuesday. Last Tuesday. Mamdani was the front runner against Cuomo, Adams, and Curtis Sliwa, the Republican candidate. Mamdani received 39% of the vote versus Adams 9%, Cuomo's 21%, and Sliwa's 19%. So in the race as it actually stands, Mamdani's crushing the field. He's almost doubled the percentage points that Cuomo has, and Cuomo is and they act like Cuomo's winning. It's like, what? Yes, if you remove everyone else from the race, then Cuomo's doing much better. So they're working, the powers that be are working very hard to get Eric Adams and Sliwa out of the race so that Cuomo can be neck and neck with Mamdani. And they're, I'm sure, spending millions upon millions of dollars to try and crush Mamdani right now. But I don't believe the parties mean anything. So Democrat, Republican, it's all about what that person stands for and whether they're actually going to do anything about it is really all that matters. But I also think the change we need in this world is largely not going to come from electoralism. All right, let's talk for a moment about, we're still on Epstein here, but why Trump's political playbook is not working this time around. It has worked so many times where something bad comes up and Trump can just say something insane, put a 900% tariff on Britain, or say he's going to annex Greenland or whatever. And everyone just moves on from whatever the thing was he didn't want to talk about. It's gone. It's erased from the world. And Epstein it's not working this time. And, you know, here's the Guardian saying this, but I actually disagree with this article. I just wanted to show the title, Why Trump's Political Playbook is Failing in the Epstein Case. And, you know, it gives all these garbage reasons, but of course, Guardian is now just captured by, you know, liberal Western empire. The real reason is really twofold that Trump can't get past this. One is that a lot of his base was all about revealing the Epstein files. They wanted to get Bill Clinton. They wanted to get Bill Gates. They wanted to get these people that are involved in the Epstein files. They wanted to nail them, and they thought Trump was going to be their guy to do that. So this is a rare story where, yes, the left and the liberals and everyone, of course, they want to see Trump hung out to dry. But then you also have half of his followers or more, maybe 80% of his followers, are like, why the fuck is this happening? Why is he turning on us? Why isn't he revealing it? So that's step one as to why his normal tactics aren't working. But the more important thing, which is something the Guardian won't tell you, is that it's because the U.S. mainstream media is staying on this story. They used to try and cover it up. For years, the mainstream corporate media covered up this story. When Epstein was alive, they covered up this story. When it was covered by a tiny, I think Miami-based or somewhere in Florida-based newspaper, she was like the first one to do an article on Epstein and what was likely going on and accusations and stuff. And I think she lost her job over it. I think the article came out and then she lost her job. But it was all ignored. It was swept under the rug. And the reason was because it incriminated Bill Clinton, the Clintons, Bill Gates, all these people that are the absolute owners of our society. And so the mainstream media just was willing to fall for any distraction that Trump threw up or anyone threw. Hey, look, a plane had an emergency landing. Well, okay, we're done with the story. But this time, the mainstream media is sticking on it because they realize that even if it hurts Bill Clinton, that doesn't matter. What matters for them, for the corporate media, most of them, is going after Trump. So they're willing to stay on it. And to me, it just highlights the failure of our mainstream media. If they want to stick on something, they will. Now, luckily, right now, they're sticking on something that is a real story. But lots of times they'll stick on something that is 100% not a real story, like Russiagate. They'll stick on that for years. So that is why Trump's playbook is completely failing him. He's doing everything he can to try and get you to stop talking about this story, and still isn't working. And I love that, like, all the videos of him with little girls on his lap and everything. It's like suddenly people are remembering, oh yeah, weren't there? Yeah, there's like a crazy number of videos. This is just the shit he did with a camera on him. What? This is the stuff he did when he knew he was being filmed. He's got, little girls. He's talking on Howard Stern about, how he'd do his daughter if she weren't his daughter. He's talking on Howard Stern about how hot Lindsay Lohan is when she was 17 and her chest. And he's talking about how he gets away with everything because he owns it wasn't the Miss Teen USA. It was one of the other ones, but he owned one of the beauty pageants. And so he's like, yeah, I can just walk into the dressing room and see many of them are under 18 and shit. And I can just walk in and see things. And then you have, the witnesses who were actually there, the women who were actually there saying, yeah, no, every other beauty pageant I've ever been in, no like owner just walks in and stares at us all naked. Only Donald Trump. And Trump was acting like it was a normal thing. Yeah, I just get to walk in and then of course his famous lines about you can just grab their vaginas or whatever dumb word he used. And they like it, or you get no, he didn't say they like it. He said that you get away with it. This is what he did on tape, on camera. All right, I got to do one more story. This is about Trump. Please, everyone, click thumbs up and click share. Support the show. I'll be back Wednesday, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. I believe Wednesday is going to be government secrets. And then I'll be back Friday at 3 p.m. for another live stream. And of course, Unredacted at night on Thursdays. But Trump wants to kidnap more homeless people, even though this was being done plenty under Biden and Obama and everyone else. We arrest our homeless people all the time for really nothing, for just being there. This is part of a capitalist society where they just churn people up, destroy lives, spit them out onto the streets, and don't give them a home. If you go to other countries, I don't mean all other countries, but I mean certain other countries, you will see almost no homeless. You will. There are people like in Sweden, for example. There are people, almost all immigrants, or everyone I've seen has been an immigrant. Sometimes they're not treated great in Sweden, but they will come and make their living by asking for money on the street. That is different than someone who you pass on the street and they're literally living in a tent. Because in Sweden, if you've decided to be like, if you're on the street living in a tent, you have ignored every government help to get you not on the street. You have pushed away every effort to try and give you some level of housing or shelter. They don't just there's not just people living in tents everywhere. In the US, fucking commonplace. I live in Baltimore now. I lived and worked in Washington, D.C. for 8 years doing Redacted Tonight. And people living in tents on the sidewalk everywhere. Everywhere. Not a rare thing to see. So Trump wants to now grab all these people and put them into institutions. Basically prisons. They wouldn't be called prisons. But instead they'd be, called mental institutions or something. It's straight up fascist shit, but they get to put it under a nice little gold trim where they say we're helping them get the help they need. Trump on Thursday signed an executive order making it easier for cities and states to remove homeless people from the streets and get them treatment elsewhere. Is that what it is? Is that what it is? Or are you just rounding them up and putting them in a prison by another name? Attorney General Pam Bondi was ordered by the executive order to reverse judicial precedents and end consent decrees. Don't give them consent. Don't let them consent as to whether they're locked away. That limit state and local government's ability to commit individuals on the streets who are a risk to themselves or others. Oh, that's not vague. If you come up on someone living in a tent who often has mental issues, you can just say they're a threat to themselves and others no matter what they're doing. Oh, you're living on a sidewalk. You're a threat to yourself. Now, if we were getting them legitimate help, then I would feel differently about this. And guess what? There is a solution to homelessness. There are multiple. One is greatly decrease inequality and affordable housing. And I don't mean build affordable housing. Don't knock down any more fucking trees and build more garbage. We have 17 million empty living spaces in the United States. 17 million vacant houses and living spaces in the United States. So you don't need to build more. You just need to decide that these things will be actual affordable housing. But outside of that, I think we should just give chronically homeless people, just give them an apartment. Give them a studio apartment, cheapest one you can find. And now they have housing, and you give them a caseworker. And it's been proven to work in places where it's been tested. Was it Idaho or Utah? I think it was Utah. They did it, and they got rid of 95% of all homelessness. And then they stopped doing it because it was working, and they didn't want something that worked. Shifting homeless individuals into long-term institutional settings for humane treatment. Long-term, keyword there. Prison. Treatment through the appropriate use of civil commitment will restore public order. Surrendering our cities and citizens to disorder and fear is neither compassionate to the homeless nor other citizens. Bullshit. President Trump is delivering on his commitment to make America safe again and end homelessness. Oh, really? I got an idea. How about we banish all billionaires and give all their money to the homeless? Why don't you do that? Why don't you banish all billionaires and take all their money? Do it. Let's say, how many billionaires in the U.S.? 900 billion billionaires. So you take their money. Tell you what, just because I don't want them to be homeless, take all the money of the 900 billionaires and give each of them $1 million. Take all their money and give them $1 million. They'll each have $1 million. So they'll each be fucking rich. But take the other trillions that you got from taking all their money and use it to build nice free housing for the homeless. There's an idea. Boy, crazy. They'd still be rich. They'd still be rich. In March, Mr. Trump called for Washington, D.C. Mayor Bowser to clean up all the unsightly homeless encampments in the city, specifically including the ones outside of the State Department and near the White House. Get them out of my face. By the way, they're doing this in California too. These so-called liberal bastions. They're just get them out of my face. Just get homeless people out of my face, and then it's fine. And then it doesn't mean it's happening anymore. In California, they're making it easier to arrest them and put them where? Out in the woods? You're going to send them out in the woods? The homeless people are there for a reason. They're there because our economy is a fucking monster. It is a capitalist machine that chews people up and destroys their lives. And a large percent of the homeless are veterans. A large percentage of homeless have mental health issues and can't get the help they need. And if I actually thought for a second that whatever the fuck Trump's doing is going to actually get people the help they need and also allow them, once they've gotten that help, to have their freedom, then I would support it. But it fucking doesn't. That's not the plan. The plan is just to allow more arrests of homeless people. And let's remember why, 50% of all chronically imprisoned, like the people that are cycling through prison in New York City, 50% or over 50% are homeless. And why is that? Is that because homeless people just commit so many crazy crimes? Oh my God, are they robbing everyone on Wall Street? Did they create the 2008 collapse by stealing everyone's homes? Is that what the homeless people in New York City did? Why are they being arrested? No, they're arrested for things that you or I, if you or I did it, we would not be arrested for. Most of what goes on. Things like loitering. Do you think if a guy in a business suit loiters, they arrest him? Do you think if a guy in a business suit, usually a white guy, lays down on a bench at a park and sleeps there for the night, do you think they arrest him? Do you think they arrest your average person? I mean, hell, your average white dude can walk around with an open bottle, drinking his whiskey, and not get arrested. I remember this from Matt Taibbi's book, The Divide. It's illegal, right, in New York City, to where I also used to live, to walk around with open alcohol beverages. This is one of the things that a lot of homeless people get arrested for. It's one of the things that they arrest a lot of black folks for in New York City. Now, does that mean that homeless people are far more likely to walk around with open containers, or that black people are far more likely to walk around with open containers? No, it's an excuse to arrest those groups of people. White people walk around with open containers. I was one of them some of the time in New York City. But white people are arrested 4% of the time. 4% of open container arrests are of white people, meaning everyone's doing it. I don't mean everyone, but lots of people are doing it. But who do the cops arrest? They arrest black people. They arrest homeless people. They arrest immigrants. Those are the ones that get arrested for open containers. Could get arrested for loitering, get arrested for whatever other stupid things. Hanging around. You were hanging around in the wrong spot, young man. Off to the clink. All right. I'm wrapping it up here, but thank you guys so much. Hope you'll become a member at leecamp.net. If you feel like you got 38 cents out of this show, become a member at leecamp.net or patreon.com/leecamp. And we're now on Means TV. Unredacted Tonight is now on Means TV. Go over there and get your free trial week and 20% off by using promo code Lee. Means.tv. It is an anti-capitalist, worker-owned, badass streaming service. It's like Netflix if Netflix gave a shit and was worker-owned and ad-free and algorithm-free. Means TV. Unredacted Knife's over there now. Use promo code Lee and keep fighting.